Okay, so I'm recording here for Unit 2, but before I get started, let me pull up our modules here. Let me switch to student so I can, no, I actually won't burn anything if I show it to you this way. Let me drag it over. So let me grab this, chat. Okay, I'll help you with that as well. So whenever I post lecture for you guys here, it will be outside of where the screen, where the slides are, just so you guys know it's from this semester. For example, in the labs here, there's videos embedded, right? But they're from like a bunch of semesters ago. I'm not gonna change those out. There's no point. That's whenever I teach remote, when I don't have to meet with you guys in this kind of format in terms of asynchronous. But for you guys, they'll always be posted outside of the labs. But what I'll do moving forward, like for these labs here, I will move them and put them up top. That makes sense? So, like for example, if we're on Unit 2 today, which we're doing, we'll do these labs on Thursday. And then after that on Sunday, I'll post it right here above this. It'll say Unit 2 Labs F25 for fall, and it'll be the first thing you see under apply. For lecture, it'd be the same thing. The recording will be just above where you get the slides. Does that work for everybody? Does that make sense? Clear as mud? Kind of hazy, kind of not hazy. We're good. Good in the hood, as the cool kids like to say. Yes, I frequently talk about these cool kids. I don't know who they are. They just exist. All right, let's party here. All right. So what are we gonna talk about today? Talking about Windows OS, other OSs, apostrophe because it's more than one, server administration, server roles, and server tools, which is just a bunch of commands that we can do in command line. Have you guys ever heard of PowerShell? No? Yes and no, a couple yeses, nos. So give me a second because I'm in the middle of recording a lecture. Sorry, people seem to forget. I shouldn't have to tell you it's Tuesday. Anyways, well, we're going with PowerShell here. It's replacing command prompt. Remember we played with command prompt recently? Looks like this. Fancy, black and white. Microsoft's first real operating system, air quotes, dirty operating system. So what's replacing it is this guy. I know it looks similar in terms of color. It actually should be blue, but my computer's in dark mode. This is normally blue on a regular computer. So if you type in PowerShell, it'll come up, it'll be blue. But you can do a bunch of commands that you can do in command prompt in here. Watch. I'm just going to show you real quick. Ping. Ooh, look at that. It's yellow. I'm just pinging a website. And see, it works. But it gives you a .6 address versus here. Command prompt. Oh, hey, gives me a .6. I didn't think they'd be. Yeah, PowerShell's newer and can do a lot more functions, but it's what's supposed to replace command prompt with, you can't kill old school, right? Just like how you can't kill Disco, I guess some people say. So it's similar. It goes hand in hand, kind of. But anyways, let's dive into this. Just giving you a preview of what we're getting into. You agree with me? We can't kill Disco. That's wonderful. I don't know. I don't like Disco. Not my cup of tea. More of a Rolling Stones kind of era kind of guy. Anywho, and they're on the newest tour. Do you guys know that? They're on the wheelchair and crutch tour. So just keep that in mind. So, all right. So here's what we're going to cover. What's an OS? OS types, server OS, server administrator role, as in the job. Then server administration itself, how you administer the server versus, you deal with people at a certain level. Then what else the server can do? Remember, a server can do more than one thing, right? It can handle a lot of clients with your regular computers, where the server is a specialized machine. We covered that in Unit 1. So let's dive right in here. So what is an OS? By definition, an operating system is a program that, after being initially loaded, because when you turn a computer, a laptop, desktop, whatever it may be, goes through what's called a post test, right? Where it checks itself, turns on, loads. After that, accesses the hard drive, loads the operating system, and moves it into the memory so it can load on your screen. And then you have this beautiful interface where you can log in and try not to curse at the sky because it took longer than 5 seconds nowadays. When back in the day, it would take 5 minutes to go make a sandwich, and you'd load when hard drives would spin. This is back like in the days of Windows 98 until like XP. And then, well, everything else after that is just ancient history, or before that is ancient history. Now, so what can we do in an operating system, guys? This is pretty straightforward. Everything, right? Almost anything. You can, air quotes, customize it. Not to the extent where you can customize Linux, but in Windows itself, it's pretty common, right? Like, who really has never run into Windows here? Like, quick show of hands. Right? Like, I started on Windows 3.1 many, many moons ago. So, I'm sure someone will start on DOS. Yes. Wow. I'm dating myself. I know. I'm ancient by those day standards. I know what a floppy is. It's not a save icon. Okay. Let's leave it at that. It's like the precursor to USB drives. I might just 3D print one in my 3D printer next to me for no reason. But even floppies, actually, side note about floppies, is neither here nor there. Most airlines still update their navigation on their planes with floppies. That's how they were built originally and designed. And they still use them. 3.25 floppies they were, or 3.5. I don't remember. 3.5. Sorry. They still use that to update their navigation software and everything. It's pretty nuts. Like, that's what's keeping me safe, flying in this steel tube, which is wonderfully there, I guess you can say. So that's fine, Jonathan. You can record. I don't mind. I mean, yeah, it's air gapped. A computer network, even in a car, is air gapped. Not most, a good amount do. I know we're kind of segueing out of it, but still operating system related talk, right, guys? So if these segues interrupt too much, please, I can tone it down. But a lot of governments still run an XP here and there. Most third world countries, not trying to insult anybody. Most of their ATM systems still run like Windows 7, I think, to an extent. But they're air gapped now. So they try to follow best practices as much as they can. But when you don't have the money, you can't do much, right? And I'm just in general in cybersecurity world, you can request all the money you want. You can request $1 million to beef up your security. Guess when you'll get that money? After something catches on fire and you can't stop it. Then all of a sudden the funding becomes magically available. So that's just how it works in cybersecurity land. But it kind of applies to everything else as well in terms for hardware. Hardware becomes obsolete, air quotes, every 5 years. That's just the cycle I'm on at work. But in reality, hardware becomes obsolete within like what, half a year now, a year, ballpark it around there. So do we have the definition of an OS? We know what an OS is. We're good. We can move on and talk about other types of OSs now. Okay. Works for me. Let's scoot the boot here. So OS types. We got Windows. That's the old Vista logo. Okay, don't freak out. I'm not going to put you through that torture. Then we have Macintosh, right? Apple OS. They're on what? Remember Big Cat they decided to name to yesterday. Is it Sierra? I still think Sierra, even though I know it's not Sierra anymore. What? Mojave? Tahoe. Jesus Christ, they're on Chevy trucks already. That's terrifying. They're on Tahoe now. So I'm like, what, 4 or 5 OSs behind, I guess? Oh, and Discord just pinged me. Yeah, it's okay. Let's find out. I can see what's going on. It's fine. Yeah. Oh, by the way, guys, Discord is for you guys. Use it there to talk amongst yourselves. You can even ping me. It's fine. It's just for you guys to communicate and like brainstorm on things. Let's say one of you gets stuck on something and I'm not available for some weird reason. Post it in there. Maybe somebody else had the same problem. So you guys can kind of like ping pong the idea back and forth. Just gets the brain juices flowing. That's kind of the best way to problem solve in groups is look at it from somebody else's perspective. Okay. So quick heads up. Most of you are computer science majors, correct? Or information technology majors or information system majors. Something computer related, right? How much math do you guys have to do? But before I get the digital groans and the eye rolling, it's a lot of math, right? A good amount of math. Do you guys know why you do math? Not just the math, right? Well, in reality, you don't. You're doing math to help you problem solve. That's what you're doing math for. It'll get your brain and like to look at things from a bunch of different angles. You can look at it face forward, right? But math teachers rotate an object topwise, sideways, underwise, 90-degree angles, whatever you can think of, 45-degree angles. You'll eventually find a solution. So it's just to make you a better problem solver. That's all it is. Just suck it up, power through it. I know math sucks. Just that's my piece on math, all right? Just as far as I go with math. Coming to a guy who took like discretes. Yeah, you can if you want to get a math degree. I won't stop you, but you'll be kind of pigeonholing yourself into statistics and predicting ratios and what was the other thing? Not stocks, it's probabilities. There you go. So if you want to predict the weather, go for it. Yeah, stats. Stats can be kind of hard. I know I had to take stats too. But back into this, we got Mac, then piggybacking off that, we got Linux. So these are the 3 most popular things in the world when it comes to computer OSs right now. Side note, for Linux, it can now run 90% of the Windows Steam library. That's kind of terrifying and kind of makes me curious. I might switch back to Ubuntu just for that reason, but I might not. So it's neither here nor there. But hey, the more you know. They just announced that, I think, today or yesterday. So Linux is fun. It's customize it to your favorite flavor, which is pretty interesting.
Wait, what was it? They just did what? Announced.
That Linux is now 90% compatible with the entire Windows Steam library.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you can game on Linux now, which is something unheard of like 10 years ago, practically. So that's
Yeah.
great. Getting drivers for Linux can be a nightmare. And if you don't know your bash commands and you type something in wrong, your laptop or computer will catch on fire. It used to be very difficult. Yeah. Ubuntu kind of paved the way and make it a little smoother, which I'm used to using Ubuntu because I've used it a lot. If you want something similar to Windows, which I'm still going to dive into real quick here, um, get it's Cent, I believe, CentOS, CENT or CENTS OS. That's Linux, but it has like all these blinds, or what they're called for the GUI, graphic user interface. It looks similar to Windows and behaves kind of like Windows, but you're running Linux. But you can now in PowerShell, you can do bash commands from Linux in Windows, so it's kind of sub inserted. So just depends. Because remember, Windows 10 was the last Windows ever, according to Microsoft, and here we are at Windows 11. So just make your peace with it, accept it, or I don't know what to tell you, because Windows 10 is technically air quotes dead and obsolete, which I won't get into the technicalities of it. It's like it's better than Windows 8. I mean, if you remember Windows 8, that was a disaster. Than the Windows Phone, which no one will probably remember. So, anyways, Windows itself, right? Let's talk about just Windows. I know. Windows is owned by Microsoft. Wow, you don't say. Really? Microsoft owning Windows. I mean, what else don't they own? They own what? Xbox, which I won't get into, which is technically a computer when it was released. Did you guys know when the original Xbox was released? Big chunky black box of just put it in a cardboard box or try to put it in a sock and use it as a home defense weapon kind of deal because it was heavy. Do you know it came with a hard drive in it? 20 gig hard drive. You can store your stuff on there. People have modded it. Look into it. It's pretty cool. You can mod things, but that's neither here nor there. So Microsoft was co-founded by Bill Gates and Paul Allen on April 4th, 1975. Microsoft started the operating system with MS-DOS. I already told you what DOS stands for, right? Dirty operating system. Story goes, IBM came on knocking to Bill Gates' house, like, hey, what do you got for us? What can you show us that can work with our mainframes and do these wonderful, imaginative things? Well, he needed something, right? He went to Paul Allen's house next door, 2 houses down, knocked on the door, like, hey, I need something quick. IBM's here. Handed him a floppy that was with DOS at the time. It was called DOS. Loaded it on Squirrel's computer and showed him commands that could work, and the rest is history. IBM picked it up, and as you've seen, that's what DOS looks like, right? I showed you the picture earlier. Or we've used it since Unit 1 to do pings and pull things up and just mess with it. Don't worry, we're not burning anything or doing anything crazy. I'm not going to break into the Pentagon here. We're not going to hack NASA, 10%, 20%, 30%. Oh my God, I'm in. Like, hack NASA and I can rule the planets. No, not how this works. It's just so you guys get used to it. That's what it's for. So let's talk about their market share. It's honestly a Windows world, right? Like, what isn't running Windows? Like, think of one thing outside that isn't running Windows right now. What's a personal device? I mean, I don't know. I've said the shuttle runs on, or former shuttle, whatever the hell they're using now, the Falcon 9 or whatever, runs on Linux, right? We didn't know that much. But every server out there in the majority of the industry, I think even most of our education servers where I'm at, maybe you guys, all run like Windows Server. It's a version of Windows, right? It can be Windows 2018 R2 is the minimum now. Newest is 2025. So from there, here to there, Windows, and guess what? More Windows. So what I did update was the text right here. That graphic's a little old, I apologize. But Windows dominates the desktop market with over 70% share. This is a slight decline overall when considering all device types. It has shrunk by like 2%, which in the grand scheme of things, is that a lot? No, what's actually been happening, there's been a slight uptick in Mac adoption, but that technically dropped as well because Linux actually kind of broke out of the gate, which is kind of weird. It's like at 4% now, but I'll cover that in the next slide, next couple slides, because right now we're going to dive into the pros and cons of Windows. So, Windows, with almost 70% of the operating system market share, you can't miss Windows, right? It's a Windows world. That's the way I describe it. That's the way it is. I mean, like I said, everywhere you go, you're gonna run into Windows. Have you guys ever seen cash registers like your favorite restaurant? They restart. Have you seen the Windows logo on it? Yeah, it's Windows. Guess what? You can work on it. Congratulations. It's out there in the wild for you to poke, prod if they give you enough money for it. So commercial buildings, industrial facilities, as well as home computers. Yeah, home computing is what pretty much kind of made Windows explode. Like I remember Windows 95. 3.1 was more business oriented because it wasn't really found in the home because there's a bunch of different OSs, mostly DOS was like the main thing with the Omega, sorry. And then we migrated to Windows 1.0, 2.0, 3.1. The 95 was just like this big thing, right? Because the graphic user interface was so revolutionary. Have you guys even seen Windows 95 before? Yeah, that's technically my childhood. It's like all this nostalgia, right? So don't worry, I'm not gonna make you guys install Windows 95. It's kind of archaic to install now. But you won't even run into the wild into the wild most of the time. No, it's a rare occurrence. The one thing I have seen in the wild, but it's air gapped, is Windows 98 Second Edition. Probably one of the most stable versions of Windows I ever saw on the planet. That thing would not crash. That thing cannot die. It's like a dinosaur. It's just there. A lot of places are print shops that have very specific kinds of software that just the manufacturer just died out one year randomly. They just need it to survive, and there's nothing that can replace it. A lot of specialty software for CNC machines runs a lot better in older versions of Windows than it does now. What are you writing, Chase? 98. Yeah, 98 stable and it's super. I mean, hell, your cell phone could run Windows 98. I mean, let's face it, your cell phone has more power than the computers NASA had to put people on the moon, and yet here we are, right? So, back into this real quick. So, pros compatibility. Almost every application, driver, or game will work on Windows. True. Like, I mean, come on, let's face it. Every Battlefield I played has been on Windows from like 1942 to now, and that's where I'm leaving it at. Technical support. I mean, you get scam calls about it. That should tell you all you need to know, right? Like, how many forums are there about Windows? There's Windows 7 forums, Windows 10 forums, Windows 11 forums. How many Reddit posts are there about Windows, right? And let's face it, it's pretty user friendly, isn't it? Like, can't see it over here. Well, I brought up the start menu on my left screen, but it's like, there you go. Start, pinned, file explorer. There you go. I can dive into my machine and fold what I need. Cons, though, viruses. Viruses are pretty common, but if I really get into the nitty gritty, viruses are kind of segued, right? It used to be just what was considered a virus, a worm, and then became a keylogger. And then from a keylogger, it went to now it's ransomware, right? Remember, ransomware was in the news constantly. Ransomware this, want to cry this, want to cry that, blah, 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 blah. You need to have pay them. They even had customer support, which is supposedly very good, which is pretty interesting. They'd help you how to figure out the payment to get it to them, and once they give it to you, they give you the key to unlock the files before they're lost forever. So, price Windows can cost hundreds of dollars. This is true, but I mean, does Windows really cost that much money? Kind of depends. Mm, pardon me. I was working retail many moons ago when Vista just came out, and there was three versions of Vista. Using it because it's just an example, right? There was Home, Pro, then I think it was Professional Plus. It was like a black box. It had more administrative features, something like Server to a point. It was like $60, $80, and then $95. So I mean, now it's what? Home, Pro. Was there anything above it? No, that's not it. Personally, I run Pro because we can do a bunch more commands. Enterprise. Yeah, but that's more for a licensing kind of deal. That's a volumetric licensing, usually is what Enterprise is used for. But it's usually the Pro edition. But there's a version of Windows 11 that's for education, believe it or not. That's what we use at work. I wonder if Merced uses it, which wouldn't surprise me because that's tailored towards education places. So it's just how it is. But it's back to life. So let's move on to Mac here. So this is the earliest version I could find of a Mac OS screenshot. Have any of you even seen that before? Mhm. Ben, you've seen it. Okay, good to know. I'm not the only one who's seen it. Yeah, this is how it started. So Apple Macintosh OS is even older than Windows, believe it or not. It was the first ever successful graphic-based operating system. Interesting, right? Being released 1 year before its Microsoft counterpart. So it got released a year before Windows. So there you know. Or DOS, rather, sorry. Apple is co-founded by Steve Jobs, who passed away, right? Steve Wozniak was still there, and Ronald Wayne. I don't know what happened to Ronald Wayne. I think he's still around. Apple started April 1st, 1976. Mac OS started in 1984 with System 1. This is 1.1, right after the first version of the system. So, a little interesting factoid. Back in the mid to late 90s, when Windows 98 was running about and the XP was about to come out, roughly in 2000, Microsoft, I would argue, was at its peak of market share. They were just everywhere. Windows 98 to 95 was on every machine. You were being encouraged to push to 98, second edition, before you went to what was called NT at the time. Then you would jump into XP after that. And they were at the point where actually Microsoft was doing bad. Apple, sorry, was doing bad financially, really bad. It got to the point where they wanted to buy them out. And it almost happened. So Congress said, no, that's considered a monopoly. So that's why that happened. There was a big old investigation, a big old litigation about this. And essentially it was to the point where they kind of came up with the idea where Microsoft would loan Apple money. You want to know what Apple did with that money? Besides spend it, they spent it really smartly. Do any of you remember the iPod? Yeah, because of that money that revolutionized Apple. The iPod saved Apple. If it wasn't for the iPod, be it the one that was the original monochrome one, to the color one, to even the nanos that they had at the time, those devices are what saved Apple and changed Apple from a computer company, in my opinion, to an electronics company. But let's face it, after that became the iPhone, right? And that changed everything. So it's pretty crazy. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a big risk they took. And I'm not an Apple person, okay? Just sharing some tidbits here. Um, when they demoed the iPhone, Steve Jobs had 3 iPhones in his pocket. They kept crashing after showing everything one at a time, so he would switch them out. They even had a cell phone tower in the back of the stage to boost the signal so it would pick up signal and work. And that's what started the smartphone revolution. It's pretty crazy. So, hey, the more you know, right? Just sharing these things with you. I hope you find them interesting. Kind of a historian. So, so let's move on. So macOS started in 1981 with System 1, like I mentioned. This is a version of 1.1. Yeah, the iPod was, I mean, I'll date myself. Like, high school was 2000, 2004 to me. It's fine. The iPod was the it thing to have because you could have your whole catalog of songs in your pocket. The first time ever. You don't have to carry on a binder of what were called CDs at the time. If you know what they are, congratulations. Um, Now you can just walk around with one device and had everything. So then that became the iPhone. Then the iPhone just died out eventually. Not the iPhone. The iPod died out eventually to the iPad, and just go from there and there and there. So let's move on. So this is, as of today on the left, this is actually Mac's market share. Holds a distant second place on desktops with market share hovering around 13 to 14%. On the side over here, it was 16% prior, but they dropped a little bit. Like I said, 2% roughly. But it's technically considered an increase. Still, air quotes, bigger than what it was 6 years ago. But on the other hand, Linux is what kind of came up. They were 1.8. This was as of 2020. They're at 4%, I believe, now. So we'll move on. Some pros and cons about Mac. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. I can slow down. So pros. I don't agree with the first one anymore. Viruses. Apple Macs, we almost no viruses. This is mostly due to Windows' superior market share. That was true at a certain point in time, but there have been viruses that target Macs now. Because let's face it, there's some schools, colleges, universities that are all Mac related, or rather Mac ran. In the cybersecurity side of things, going into Mac a little bit, um, Mac, or rather Apple and Microsoft now kind of coordinate on a couple things for security. They work together and it goes hand in hand with them. It's been a great relationship, which is pretty interesting when it comes to that. They develop a couple of not tools, I per se, but guidelines that apply to both systems, and it works pretty well. We were talking with our Apple rep last week about this, and he was just mentioning this thing. So I just want to share that with you guys because I have an Apple rep that's kind of different for systems. Now, I wonder if he want to give you guys a chat. Would you guys be interested in something like that? See it from the Apple side of you? Okay. I will contact him, try this week or next week, and I'll try to bring him in as a guest speaker for one of our classes, if that's cool with you guys, and we'll go from there. All right. So reliability, Macs only run on Apple computers. Doi. Did you guys know you can make a Hackintosh? Okay. I won't get into it though. Again, a what? Oh, we got an oh what? I'll send you the link, Hugo. Give me a second. You can make one out of an Acer laptop. It's kind of funny. Oh, thing's dead. Hold on. Yeah, there's an article. I gotta find it, but there you go. Usually you can build one off of this. There you go. Have fun with that. You can essentially jailbreak a computer or run a Mac OS. It's pretty interesting. It used to be popular on older Acer laptops because they were just cheap and free, practically. You can get them on eBay. Anywho, Reliability, yeah, they kind of run on their own deal. They don't crash as often. This is true. I've seen it happen where they do crash. They get the spinning beach ball of death. That's the best thing I can call it. And they just hang. It happens from time to time. It's not common, it's rare, but um the biggest killer is they don't get restarted, just like any regular desktop. Here, I'll put it for everyone. Let me make sure it's the right one. Yeah. There you go. Have fun with that. It's a guy teaching you how to do it. So it's pretty cool. Anyways, where was I? So cons or graphic design. Yeah, Apple's great for graphic design, I'm not gonna lie. Engineers, architects, I'd argue it's that's more of a CAD related thing. Do you even know what CAD even stands for? I know like two of you probably will. Computer aided drafting. So back in the day, they would make blueprints by hand on these big things called plotters. They would draw them by hand. My dad was an architect, so or is an architect. He's not dead. He's still there, just pushing 80 almost. But I grew up around that stuff, and then they got revolutionized in the mid 80s to the early 90s where they went digital, and it did away with the drafting tables, did away with the rising tables and the light tables, what they were called. They had a light underneath that would shine the blueprints. So you copy it by hand. That was gone and obsolete within like 2 3 years. Um, Web designing, yes. Planning, I argue CAD design is more for Windows, in my opinion. But another thing Macs are really good for is music editing, believe it or not. They're awesome for music editing. So I don't know if some of you remember this, but like in the, I want to say early 2000s to mid 2000s, there was like this giant push for computer animation. Remember, in movies, computer generated stuff just became super commonplace, right? Like this is before even ILM was like dominant. Well, they were dominant, but not in that sense. There was just computer generated this, computer generated that. It was killing. Toy Story was made on a Mac. I have a story about that, about Toy Story 2 specifically. Um, where was I going with this? It was going to kill a stuntman. They started injecting computer generated stuff into everything. There was this big push. A lot of it was actually done on Macs at the time. Do you guys ever remember the movie Terminator 2 Judgment Day? No? No one remembers TF2 Terminator 2 Judgment Day? Yeah, okay. Yes or no? Let me show you something. This was the computer that was used to generate the scenes for the Liquid Terminator. I'll use Wikipedia because Wikipedia is always free. This was the machine right here, the SGI Indigo, that was used to create the Liquid Terminator scenes when he phases through, changes his hands to arms to weapons or whatever. It was this machine here. It's pretty crazy for its day. If you're curious, I can give you this link too, and you can look into it just for funsies. You can still find them for sale every now and then, but parts are kind of getting hard to get. There's a lot of connectors in the back too. So what is it? It's just a really big honking machine. That's the best way I can describe it. Powerful for its day and age. So here, I'll link you if you're curious. There you go. So, anyways, getting back to Mac. So the cons about Mac, it's expensive, right? How much is a Mac nowadays? Like a top of the line Mac? Does it run like 5 grand plus? I think off the top of my head. And if you're curious in education, when we buy machines, Macs, PCs, or whatever, we do not pay market price. We pay a lot more. So like a $300 machine is like a $650+ machine for education. A Mac gives you about 10% discount, but it's like 4,500 if top of the line or whatever it is, depending on the configuration. Yeah, they're not cheap. If you think they're expensive for your private use, oh hell no, they're more expensive on the education side. They just the price goes up. It is what it is. 200 itself. Yeah, there. I remember our Apple rep was talking about high-end displays, and like these new high-end displays are like 6 grand. Oh, it's not the teacher to worry about it, man. It's the dean and the budgeting office, I guess, to worry about it, the bean counter, not you. You just say, this is how much money you got, spend it wisely. Um, they were telling us like they make this comparative display that's like 4 grand versus the industry standard like 10 grand for like these really high resolution displays. I'm like, yeah, don't think we're gonna need that, but thanks for trying to upsell me on something we don't want. But yeah, they're pricey. I mean, I'd argue they're like a Rolls Royce in terms of um uh sleekness. They're pretty. Don't get me wrong, they're very pretty machines. They're nice, but you're kind of paying for that, right? Like they're thin. If you've never seen the inside of a newer Mac, like the thin iMacs, the board they use for their laptops or their AirBook Pros are the same motherboards they use inside of there. if you're curious. I've seen one taken apart. It's the only reason I know. I think we might have a broken one that actually someone busted the screen. I might take a picture of it and show you guys later if we have it. I don't want to get cut. But anyway, yeah, they must have had money, man. But that's the thing. They're graphic designing, right? Mostly in the art studio or like comics or using what's called bamboo tablet to draw and stuff. So yeah, that's why they're pretty good. They're very good for that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not arguing they're crap or anything in that regards, but they're very good for graphic design. Yeah, yeah. Mhm. The one thing that kind of has sucked with, in my opinion, with laptops being any brand, it could be HP, it could be Dell, it could be Apple. They're all shifting away from having an audio jack. Remember a 3.5 headphone jack? It's USB, right? Like my headset, I'm gonna look it up for a second. Right here, I'm holding my SteelSeries headset. It's wireless, but it used to use a USB dongle, right? So it's still USB. Great. Okay, cool. Now we're moving to C, where you need adapters. Okay, for a C to USB-A adapter, it's like $10. Not that big of a deal. Now, I'm not trying to throw Mac under the or Apple under the bus here or anything, but they give you like two USB-C ports, no network port. So you're like screwed there. No regular USB port. The power port is also a USB-C port. So you're like, do I have an HDMI output? No. So what do? You have to buy adapters. And the Apple adapters have to be Apple specific, right? Because they're hard coded into the chip to work that way. And they're not cheap. I'm not trying to like, you know, again, I'm not trying to say they're horrible, but it's like Jesus, like, can you even give me an HDMI port or display port? No, nothing. I have to pay a make a ton of money. Yeah, they're nickel and diming you, unfortunately. But if you're a graphic designer, I mean, hey, you're gonna need it, right? Unless you want to use a Windows machine and suffer a little bit. So, or you can go the Linux route and run is it Wine? Their equivalent, which is pretty interesting, but we won't get into it. So only available on Apple computers. Yeah, duh. If you already have a computer, you cannot install Mac on it unless it's an Apple. That's a lie. I told you there's a Hackintosh. It's true. Otherwise, you must buy a new computer. Sometimes Apples have failures. I'm not gonna lie. Do you guys remember the trash can design of the Mac? Called the little black trash can. You guys ever seen it? Like from 2013? Oh, hold on. I will show you a picture. So this is back before Apple got very proprietary. What do I mean by that? You guys ever heard of right to repair? So it's kind of because of that. They kind of shifted that way. They want to be your only supplier, essentially, for I guess this will work. They won't be your only supplier for parts. So this is what it looks like. Go way out. It's not the best picture. This is 2013 one, and this one's actually very upgradable. Oh, god dang it. Where's go away? This is the early NVMe's for these. But here's the weird thing. That slot right there for their connector is proprietary. You can buy an adapter for like $5. So you can still upgrade these. You can upgrade the RAM. You can upgrade what else could you upgrade? The video chip can be swapped out. So this is like back when Apple was still upgrade friendly. Nowadays, forget it. Everything is soldered on, which is kind of nuts. So let me show you. I mean, you guys taken apart a computer before? Good amount? No, no, it was just with the shell off. There's a round shell on it that you pull off. Yeah, it's all circular, but they're all squared. So yep, you used to take them apart. Okay. So this is, I'm just trying to find a logic board right now. Give me a second. No, that's not it. Give me a minute, guys. I'm just trying to show you. You just can't upgrade it. Yeah, I guess that'll work up a bloody prettiest thing. Here's the die for the graphics. Check this out. There's your Apple chip, right? Can't swap it out. That's for soldering something else. And that right there is your graphic processor. This is from 2022, so you can still upgrade. I believe that's the hard drive right there. We'll go there. There's a SATA board, so that's good. That's from only 3 years ago, but you go to today. Check this out. Ah, dang it. Wrong one. Hold on. Taking back to the same screen. I'm just trying to find the latest one. This is a 2020 M1. I know. I'm dragging my feet. Just want to show you something. This is today's. This is 2025's logic board. That's all heat coverings, okay? But you can't even change the goddamn fans out anymore. They want you to pay them to replace the parts, which is pretty nuts. Or get a whole new board. And the whole new board is not cheap. This is a battery, if I remember correctly. The SSD would be about here, but they're all soldered on, so it's pretty nuts. So, like I said, they want you to pay through the nose now because that's how they make their money, right? If they're the only ones making the part, you can charge whatever they want. So, yeah, I can do the slides here, just sharing things about Mac, not trying to, scare you away, just giving you the context. So compatibility, only a few programs run on Mac and almost no games. Some games now do run on Mac. You guys know the story of Halo? I know I'm leading into gaming a little bit. Did you know it was originally a Mac product? It was going to be a Mac RTS kit. Then Microsoft wound up buying the project because they bought Bungie. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. And then it became this cultural juggernaut, which is like the equivalent of GoldenEye for the kids in the early 2000s, which was GoldenEye for me back in the day. Macworld. That's right, Winter. Yep. There's a video floating around down the internet. If you're curious, Google it. And the history of it's pretty interesting. So, all right, let's move on to Linux here. So, this is what Linux looked like. It was just originally a bash screen. Linux is free. Yay, free. We don't pay anything. Available to anyone. However, the trademark of the name Linux rests with the creator Linus Torvalds. It was originally conceived of, or should be conceived by, I'll reword that later, as a hobby by Linus Torvalds in 1991. Linux started as Linux 1.0. Well, what version of Linux are we up to now? Let me find out. My brain's being curious. Oopsies. I'll type that there. What version are we up to now? As of October, we are at 6.17. Cool. So Linux has come a long way. So the market share of Linux, 4%. It grew. It grew by 2% in the past 3 years. It's something. So the one good thing about Linux, it's free, right? What if I told you it's not that hardware intensive? If you have like an old 5, even 10-year-old laptop, you can install the latest version of Linux slash Ubuntu slash whatever, and it'll run pretty well. So it's mostly used a lot more in server environments than it is obviously in home computers because how many of you are the default, and I'm saying this passion in my heart, okay? How many of you are the default computer technician for the family, for the house? If it's plugged into the wall now, it somehow became your responsibility. Quick show of hands. Anybody? Anybody? Oh, the toaster isn't working. Oh, the microwave isn't working. Oh, the trash compactor isn't working. Oh, hey there, neighbor. What are you doing this weekend? What do you want? What am I fixing? Right? If they think of you, yeah, well, I enjoy it too to an extent. They think of you in that regard, right? They think of you as wizard, right? With technology. Now, if you show them Linux, they're gonna think you're some kind of super genius. Because you have to learn to do commands, you have to learn how to install things manually, you have to path the things. It's not like Windows just points where it needs to go kind of deal, right? Linux is a lot more hands-on. So, I mean, I remember I made the mistake of showing you one time in a different, you're in the Matrix, yes. Maybe you've even seen the Matrix. I'm segueing out it for a second because it's kind of Linux based. Keanu Reeves, 2000-ish, bullet time became a thing. So, yeah, if my mother-in-law's TV's on the fritz, I'm someone a computer TV repairman because I'm a technician. I was like, what? Huh? Just restart the damn thing. Anyways, um, in the Matrix, there's a scene where they have all this text scrolling down, right? It's called reverse Polish notation. That's what it's based on. So if you're curious, that's where they got the idea from. It's pretty cool. And weak bullet time. Yes, that's where bullet time became a thing. After that, bullet time became part of every game, became part of everything. It became this trend. But yeah, Linux has about 4% of the market share now, which is kind of cool. It's used a lot in supercomputers like the Hadron Collider that you hear about here in time. Hopefully, it doesn't rip a hole in space-time continuum and we go back in time or whatever, or change the course of history. Won't get into it. Where else was it used? Mainframes, server farms. Like remember I showed you Docker a little bit in the first stage. Is what it was. It runs mostly on Linux or a different version of Linux. I know one of you in this class uses Red Hat. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not just poking at you because I remember. I saw it. I don't think I didn't. So we're good. It's still original Linux. I think if I remember right, Red Hat's the only version you pay for because you offer a metric ton of support for it. Here we go. So Linux. It's Linus's Torvald. answer to Mac and Windows. Fedora is free. Yes. Oh, that's right. Fedora. I forgot about that. Thank you. Price, Linux is free. You can download it, install it, use it, modify it all for a whopping $0, which is awesome. Open source. Viruses. They don't exist in the Linux world because they can't run. You're fine. That, and it's mostly running behind a firewall with no internet access. So you're even more fine. Nothing's going to get in. Runs applications a lot faster. Is this true? Because it's a lot more lightweight. Watch. Let's look this up. I'm just pulling it out so we can see this. I use Michigan Technological University. That's fine. Check this out. Look what you need to run Linux. That's nothing, practically, in my opinion. Now, let me do this. I'm pulling the system requirements for Windows 11. Just to compare and contrast, okay? Maybe I'm gonna shoot myself in the foot here. Maybe I'm not. Come on. There you go. Ah, bloody hell. No. Let's compare here. It doesn't need 16 gigs of RAM. I guarantee you it doesn't. It's less. It's a lot less now. Let's see, Windows. Two or more cores. This doesn't even say unique cores. Manufactured in the last 6 years. Wow, that's wonderful. Hold on. Go back. It's got to be a better defender version. There we go. Yeah, this is crazy. See, that's what I was thinking about. So here's what you need for Linux. Compare this. How crazy is that? Give me a second, guys. I'm gonna answer a text. Okay. Look at the system requirements. What do you think? Can you run it? Look at this. It's the next 84 architecture processor. Almost everyone except I believe except Apple Silicon has that, right? How many of you have 4 gigs of RAM or more? Yeah. Obviously you saw I had too much RAM. 20 gigs of hard drive space. That's nothing. Back in the day when we were dealing with megabytes before gigs was even a thing, 20 gigabytes was like a terabyte to what it is today, or 2 terabytes, I guess you could say. So that was a ton of space back in the day. Hell, games used to be megabytes, right? Not gigabytes. Like example, anyone's parade here. How big is Call of Duty? How many gigs is it? Too many? Too many gigs? Like 100. Yeah. And this operating system needs like 20. That's nothing. 156. Yeah, it's ludicrous, right? So I'm from the age of before DLC even existed. Okay, we would buy something called an expansion pack. Congratulations, that's all you need. You're done. This is our fun part. Anyways, moving back in. So I just want to show you specifications. So that's about it. So cons. It's complicated. It can be if you don't know your bash commands. It kind of sucks. Although some distros are quite easy to use. This is true. Most of them will require a good deal of computer knowledge in order to get them to work. That's all I was saying. If you like show someone you're running this and using it, they're gonna think you're like you pay with frustration. No, Chase, that's me on a Mac recording videos for you guys and pulling my hair out because I can't click OK. But I won't get into it. But Linux can be a little frustrating, but if you know how to work your way around it, you will get there. Just learning how to bash is your best friend. Like Mac, representing only a few percentage of the market share. Linux does not have as many programs and games. That's a lie now because I guarantee you that 90% of the Steam library runs on Linux now. Do you know the Steam OS on the Steam Deck is actually built off Linux? I've contemplated getting one, but I don't see the point, to be fair. The Steam Deck's pretty cool. So vendors. You won't find a lot of vendors selling Linux computers. Usually you just end up having to buy Windows computers, reformatting the hard drive, and installing Linux yourself. That's 99% true. But HP, if you custom order a laptop, I forget what series and above, you can actually have them install Ubuntu preloaded if you wanted it. So there you go. The more we know. So we're not halfway through the slides, guys. I do apologize. Yeah, you kind of get, I get what you're saying, Ubense. You're kind of learning it with Mac, then you're kind of like, I'm already here, I may as well just get my feet wet and learn it. If you were to learn Linux, actually, if you're really good at learning Linux, you could be propelled to system administrator pretty quick without a degree. I'm just saying it'd be a little harder, but if you can prove you know your way around your ins and out, you get pretty high up in the food chain in that regards. So let's move on. Well, what is a server operating system? Well, it's similar to a regular operating system, right? But like I said, more bells and whistles. The server operating system is an advanced operating system designed to run on servers. Pretty straightforward. It has the necessary features and subsystems to operate in a client-server architecture and services clients' requests, right? So if you send an email, it's going to go to a server and send it somewhere else, wherever you tell it to go or to whom or whatnot. The original idea for email that Bill Gates had, hypothetically here, or back in time, one time machine back here, because we're talking about servers, was if you were to send an email, they're going to charge you a penny. That was the idea for postage for emails. But I forget how or who or what decided to say, nah, let's just keep it and make it free forever. And that's how email works. It's still free to this day. Unless you want like a plus version with no ads or whatnot. I think Yahoo charges if you want it. So server OS is continued. These are common server operating systems. There's an abundance of operating systems available today. According to some statistics, roughly 80% of all servers use some variation of Linux, while about 20% of servers use Windows. There you go. So, like I said, there's a couple things on the side we're going to talk about real quick. More security threats due to widespread use because it's Windows, right? It's a Windows world. Several standard versions, easy to use, requires a paid license, closed source, flat file system. What does that mean? It's flat architecture. Linux, bears security with great community support. There's tons of boards for Linux. I'm sure Reddit has a Linux board. That wouldn't surprise me. Large numbers of distributions or distros, that's what they're usually called. Requires extensive knowledge. Yes, it's steep, like I said, to learn it. But Linux isn't bad. It can be decent for what you want it. Like I said, if you want to run it for every day and use Ubuntu, it's fine. You just have to get used to. I don't know if you can right click anymore. I forgot. Can you right click in Ubuntu? I don't remember because I know you can't right click on Mac. You can? Oh, okay. Yeah. So then, yeah, you can almost run it like Windows. Requires extensive knowledge. That's just knowing your bash commands and how to do them and what to do them, how to do a grep update. I just said grep, right? GRP. It's free to use. I said that. It's open source and it has a hierarchical file system. So you're all like, what the hell's grep? Well, let me show you what grep means. No, we're not going to implement a Linux machine. I'm sorry. I cover that actually. If you want to run a Linux machine, we actually run one in CTIS 17. So it deals more with OS administration. Here we're not gonna make a Linux server because we're not we're not covering this as Windows server. Sorry. Look, looky. Grep. Grep right there. I know, it's okay. It's nothing wrong with being curious. It's on get distros text, and then it just pulls the information and it updates. So grep is like get, is the best way I can put it. It's your get command. There's also another way to command things. It's called sudo. Sudo is like your administrator privileges. When you launch command prompt in admin mode, it's kind of like that. But I'll show you what Geeks for Geeks has there. Oh, it's just a definition. But here's something interesting. You guys check this out. If you're curious, don't worry, this won't be extra credit or anything. It's just for you guys. But that's what it looks like. So if you do sudo, then this, it tells you what it does. Where it's just elevating it to administrator level practically. It is elevating it to administrator. We'll do sudo. My apologies. So this is just the different versions. I'm just scrolling through it so you can see it. This right here is the equivalent of killing a task. Like in Windows, when you do in Task Manager, it's dash kill. So yeah, do all this kind of stuff. Sudo is root. Yes, sudo is root. No, I did not say groot. Root, which means main, like the main root of tree. Anywho, let's move on. 5 more slides, and we're about halfway there, guys, and we'll take a break. Sound good? You get to hear me jabbing more. Isn't it fun? Anthony's sitting there with arms across, like, man, this guy don't shut up. I'm just kidding. Yeah, sudo. No, at root is point to root. Off top, man. I don't use Linux that much anymore, guys. So, pardon me. So, Server market share. This is kind of old. I do apologize. But here's what we got. Thank you. I have tons of them. I think. I hope. I pray. This is how we're looking for servers. Yes, Mac can be used as a server. I know. I know. It's shocking, but it's pretty decent for an ecosystem. Linux has about 47% as of 2023. I will update this probably tonight if I get the chance. Windows holds a bigger share because, again, it's a Windows world. That's changed with AWS, technically, because it's being run off Linux and backend. But they spin up or create, I like to say spin up because that's their term, Windows virtual machines every time you use them, which is pretty okay, decent. So here you go, a list of a bunch of server operating systems. Windows Server, I talked about it from like 2016. What were you doing? Current base version that's still usable and supported. It's 2018 R2 up to 2025 R2, R3, somewhere on there. Linux, you got all these flavors. Ubuntu server, yay. Demand server, even better. Fedora, which is free. OpenSUSE Leap, which I haven't seen in years, and SUSE Linux Enterprise Server, Arch Linux, Red Hat, the one you pay for, Enterprise Linux RHEL, which is expensive as hell. I think it's like $300 a month. Unix-based operating systems was literally command line, but it works for Linux-based things. NetWare, which is pretty ancient. Mac OS Server is still around. I can't believe I have free BSD on there. That's from like the mid to late 90s to early 2000s when it died off. So won't get into it. No, this is just a list of stuff. 2 more slides, guys, and get a break. Hang in there. So let's talk about the role, as in what you do as a job, the system administrator. Your job to install, manage, optimize, monitor, and solve problems if necessary. So have you guys ever been working on something for somebody or for yourself and it says contact your administrator and your account is the administrator? And then you're like, what the hell do I do now? It's kind of like that, just on a much higher level. So what are the tasks in terms of this job? You have to deal with hardware management and maintenance. Well, what do you mean by maintenance? Things have to be patched. Let's face it, there's vulnerabilities everywhere, right? And drivers do get updated. Like, how many times do graphic drivers come out every month? Every other month, depending on the brand, right? That's pretty common to update. Like, if some of you have Samsung, for example, for NVMEs, do you have Samsung Magician? Often that updated. Okay, cool. The software got updated. What about the firmware for the drive? That got updated too, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to plan for all that kind of things. Application maintenance. Do databases mainly need maintenance? Yes. When do you restart the server? When do you patch the server? When do you implement network patches? All these kinds of things that you have to keep in mind. And updates. Windows updates, be it server, regular Windows. Oh, I don't know what else needs an update. Linux needs an update. When do you update it? Do you want to update them in the middle of the day when everybody's on and then cause headaches? Or do you want to wait till 3 in the morning like a good person, use your noodle caboodle and schedule it to happen manually? Right? It'll just deliver you a log if it happened or didn't happen. That's kind of how you do it. That also goes to backup scheduling. How often do you want a backup? Every day, every week, every month, every other month, once a year? I don't recommend that. So you gotta have all that into play as well. Then you have to monitor your servers and your systems. What if they're using too much RAM when you're creating virtual machines? What if they're starting to overheat? What if there's a problem with the AC system? There's all these things that you have to take in consideration. Then performance optimization. So let's say I'll use a janitor as an example. Okay, I'm not trying to call them dumb. Does a janitor need the super ultra powerful like Z workstation compared to, oh, I don't know, an accountant? No, right? They need like some basic machines to just log in and check work orders, email, basic tasks. Do you get them a high-end machine? No. Get them a mid-range machine. If you like them, they're cool with you. Take out your trash without telling you. Yeah, offer them a donut and give them a better machine because they're cool with you. Just kidding, but being friendly with people kind of gets you a long way also, believe it or not. You have no idea how many times I've walked by a hallway at work and I get stopped for help. That's wonderful. It's flattering, but I'm trying to eat. Well, guess what? I gotta wait. I gotta help people. Just part of my life, right? So access management, I mentioned it before. Who should have access to what in terms of the servers? Should the IT department be allowed in the server room? I'd argue, yeah, as long as they don't throw water on it, you're fine. But should, oh, I don't know, should a vendor be allowed in the server room? That's actually a trick question. Yes or no? It depends. All of you just said no, could have lost 5 points on the midterm. It depends on the vendor. That's not a question on the midterm, but it might be now. It depends what they're there to do. So there's a bunch of different kinds of vendors. Sometimes there's some software that you cannot manage, believe it or not. For example, like our bookstore is ran by Nebraska. It's the name of the company, not the state, technically. Um, they run that server. They run an SQL server. We don't do anything. They maintain it. They will send a vendor out from time to time to update it, and they handle it. but they should be supervised. That is correct. So if you have an AC vendor, because you have to have the AC working right and maintained, you don't want your server room to overheat, because then you're in a world of hurt, and then you're busting out fans, and it looks like you're in like 1998 trying to cool off a room without adequate air, and there's no airflow. You're like, oh crap, the server's gonna melt and shut down. So you have to plan for that. They should have access, but correct, someone should be watching them. So that's the main thing about vendors. They're here to help you. You hired them, cool, but you got to watch them, not because they're gonna steal, but just to make sure they're doing what they got to do. Does that make sense? Clear as mud, kind of weird. No, yes, maybe so. So technical support and ticketing management. What the hell does that even mean? I am going to show you a ticketing system. Sure, some of you are like, oh, great, ticketing. I've been there before, man. That's fun. In case they are a spy. Yes. If you ever played Red Alert 2, you'll know what I'm talking about in terms of spies. Oops, wrong one, wrong count. No, they're not going to spy. This isn't corporate espionage. So this is our current brand new operating. This is our brand new ticketing system. I hate it. It's not fun. It breaks things up. It's more industry focused, which is great. But I have incidents, which lets me talk to people, send them emails, do all the kinds of stuff to show you what it is. Okay. Then I have tasks. What's the difference? An incident, you could plan, prepare. A task is just go do it. So see, this is all the kinds of stuff I deal with on a daily basis. I get more into this in CTI 17. So if you're curious, I talk way more about help desk. But let me show you my older help desk, which is still up and running. Why? I don't know. I haven't logged into this one in a long time. So they upgraded our help desk from that system with this old SolarWinds system, which kind of sucked. I'm not gonna lie, because it's pretty basic. You could reply back, and I mean I could click on one. So yeah, but here's the weird part. It worked. It wasn't. You know when something's just old and it just works and you don't have to worry about it? That's how this was. Best way I can describe it. So see, it's a 2-year-old ticket. They never gave them funding for what it is, so it just sits in this queue. But this is, pardon me, because we just migrated to the old system. It works on a server we have somewhere downtown back in the back room. We don't look at it. So this because those machines need SSDs. They didn't have any money for them. But the new system's annoying because how can I put this? So in the old system, it's like you click, you put your comment, it sends it, it's done. In this new one, you got to click, go to the subheading, click the hyperlink. Okay, so you'll have a general idea. But in the new one, it's like it's 5 steps to just input a comment. You can't even email it in. In the old system, you can just email reply to it. You don't update the ticket. The new one, no, no, no. You have to go through like 5 hoops and loops just to put in hi, hello, have you tried this? It's kind of annoying. But that's a ticketing system. So what a ticketing system does, it prioritizes your work. So you saw things, something said low, some said medium, some said high. Depending on how people get affected is who you respond to first usually. I like to work on the first come, first serve basis, just depending on what it is. But if I get like something urgent, like, oh hey, the president of the college's computer crashed. Yeah, they're gonna take priority over like a lunch lady, for example, or a vendor waiting on me to open a door. Like, yeah, you gotta wait, man. I got bigger fish to fry and that kind of deal. So it just that's also where pardon me, I'm losing my train of thought for a second here. That's also where being friendly and knowing people kind of helps. So just depending who you know, what you know, you tell them, hey, give me a minute, and they're cool with it. Other people get frazzled, but the thing is, you're going to deal with people that get mad, right? I mean, let's face it, not everyone's technologically savvy. I'm not trying to drag anyone through the mud or anything. That's not the point. But people get frustrated, right? When a computer doesn't do what you want to do and you're clicking on it to do it, how mad do you get? Like if the computer you're trying to use, let's try to play a game, the brand new game, whatever it is you want to play. You go to launch it and it crashes and it goes into a loop and restarts your computer constantly. Would you be upset? I'd be pretty upset. Yeah. So now imagine you having to go talk to that person. So customer service is kind of a big thing I don't really talk about here. I talk about more CTI 17, but I'll mention it. Customer service is essentially you're the face of the company, wherever you're working, you're representing them. So how you behave, how you interact with people plays a big role. One thing I like to do when I run into people that are having problems or anything, I always reiterate the issue they're having to make sure that's the correct information. Because you ever heard of a vague ticket or just a vague phrase or just a vague saying? I'm sure you guys have heard vague before, right? So my best example for vague is my dad, God rest his soul, will tell people my son fixes computers. So his coworkers would bring me their computers. Okay, what's the problem? The Windows isn't working. That's wonderful. That's great. What the hell does that even mean? I don't know what the Windows isn't working means. I go turn on the laptop, it loads. Windows loads fine. It's stable. I update it. I check Office. Loads fine. Saves fine. Nothing's wrong with it. Okay, cool. Send it back to the person. Don't charge them a thing because I didn't do anything, right? Time is money in that regard. You can set your own rates or whatever you freelance, but we'll get into it. Brings it back the next day. Hey, the Windows still isn't working. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I literally have to go in my hands and just do the thing in front of the laptop and just go like pointing at it like that, like I'm Italian almost. I'm like, hey, look at this thing. It's working fine. It's stable. There's nothing wrong with it. I can't fix something that isn't broken. It's like when you go to the mechanic and take your car and it stops making that noise you want it to make, right? It's like that. But if everything's working fine, what do you fix? Nothing. There's nothing to fix if it doesn't need to be fixed. So that's just something to keep in mind for the future if you decide to go down this path. Sometimes people will think something's broken when it really isn't, and it's not on you to fix something that isn't broken. It's not broke. What are you gonna do? Can't fix it. So, access management, I talked about technical support ticketing. I was mentioning that's why I was mentioning that. Then implementing security barriers against cyber attacks. What does that mean? So, is your firewall configured correctly? Do you have policies in place? Do you have standard operating procedures? SOP. It's boring. It's just the rules we live by. It's let me show you what SOP looks like. Giant text document. Okay. Whoops. Oh, this works. Here you go. SOPs. Congrats. If you want this link, I'll give it to you. It's not that big of a deal. Comes straight from the government, so you're good. Our formal written guidelines or instructions for incident response typically have both operations and technical components. It's like a digital Bible, I guess you could say, almost telling you, hey, if we run into this is how we're going to resolve it. This is your recovery plan, yada, yada, yada. And they're all standardized. Okay. They might look a little different from company to company, but they all usually do the same things when it comes to in terms of how they operate and what they're for. It's just the rules. That's all it is. You guys ever remember a cartoon called The Fairly Odd Parents? No? Anybody? Going once, going twice? Remember the rules? No? Yeah, it's kind of like that, but for cybersecurity. They even have a Wikipedia. That is hilarious. There you go. Look, the rules. Just think of it in terms of cybersecurity and well, implementations. So, data protection. That's the other thing you gotta think of. How you can keep your data safe. So, there's something called the CIA triangle. And I don't mean the corporate, sorry, cyber intelligence agency or anything, or yeah, but Central Intelligence Agency. You know what the CIA triangle is? Oh, I will show you. This is what relates to data protection too. I just want a bloody picture. I don't need a huzzah. That's how you manage this. Oh, bloody hell, go away. This. That's for confidentiality, right? Integrity and availability. So how do you keep the data confidential? How do you keep it integral so it's accessible? And how much availability do you want to have? That's the thing. People need to access data, right? Be it HR, be it a CEO, be it whatever, like higher ups. Like I said, I like to use a lowly janitor because, to be face, they're not really high on the totem pole when it comes to accessing files. But they need their work orders. I get it. But they don't need access to like financial records, do they? No, they don't. So just gotta think about it in that kind of sense, and that's where all this comes into play. But you guys, this is more just to use help you think. That makes sense. That's all it's for. But that's what essentially these last two pertain to. So data center safety is just physical security. What kind of access do you want to have? Do you have what calls biometric, where it's either scans your fingerprint, you have a badge, does it scan your eyeball? Yes, that is a thing. They will scan your eyeball because your eyeball has an eye print, just like your thumb. It's unique. Retinal scanning, fingerprint scanning. How often do you change your passwords? Is it every 60 days, 30 days, 72 days? How many characters? You've seen the gambit, right? Like, what's one of the most common passwords in the world? It has password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Want to know what the other one is? Love 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, but you gotta think of things people won't think about. I have a million unique passwords. I won't get into it, but I haven't written it down on a notepad. If it's on the internet, they can't get to it. It's kind of the whole theory behind it. So moving on to slide 19. Are we good so far? Am I going too fast? we're all on the same page. Anthony's smiling, which means I think we're good. Take that as a yes. Awesome. Great input. I love this. We're good so far. Anything confusing? No, nothing. Nada. Okay. Thumbs up from Sophia. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So, security architecture. Well, what the hell does that even mean? Security or the architecture provides improvements for smart cards. That's what I was talking about earlier, right? Public and private encryption keys. So, what does that mean? So, there's two forms of keys, public and private. You can use them when you send certain items like emails. They have to be encrypted a certain way. There's different kinds of encryption. SHA-512 Mesh 3, or is it 256? One or the other. I don't remember at this point right now because it's been a while. This is the most latest standard. It's hard to break. All the ones before it have been broken. So public key is a key that you have available and you give to whomever, a digital key, okay, not a physical key. And you can use it to unlock an email or unlock whatever message you send to them. Private keys are used for one-on-one transactions. So, for example, man, Anthony, you're laughing at this stuff? Like, you must be really enjoying this. That's great. I'm just giving you a hard time, dude. It's cool. Don't worry about it. I don't get offended if you guys are laughing, having a good time. It's fine. That's more for like one-on-one data transfers, if that makes sense. And those keys are unique to that situation. They're only exchanged at the time of the transfer. I don't have any pictures of this. It's kind of hard to demo. We're not going to do it. This isn't a cybersecurity class. I'm sorry. Take forensics. We do stuff like that. Forensics gets really hairy. And I've done forensics in the past. It's kind of weird and kind of tedious. It can be a nightmare, especially recovering text messages off cell phones that got dumped in water, which I won't get into. So terminal services. What the hell is terminal? Allows you to remotely log into and manage other Windows systems. So for this, let me spin up a remote machine from work. And I will show you what that refers to. We changed how our remote system works at work, so it's a little different. I don't want the help desk. I don't want that. Hold on, give me a second. I can't remote anywhere at home, right? Go figure. Well, please. You think I'd be able to remote anywhere I want to go? You can do scripting for Windows. If you could automate a lot of things like logging in or running reports, for account generation, report generation, logs. I mean, have you guys seen Event Viewer before? That's going to be an assignment we're going to deal with, but that's for you to do after the labs, not during the labs, if that makes sense. Let me go into my app stream. The way we're remote to work now kind of sucks. It takes like a minute to spin up a virtual machine. Then the virtual machine connects to my work network. Then it lets me put in my computer's name at work. Then I can log into my work. I'm just showing you how remotes, okay? And the reason being, I'm going to remote to a work computer. So I'm going to remote from my remote to a remote computer. Remember Russian nesting dolls? It's kind of like that. I mentioned. Come on, sign me in. I'm sure my boss is like, dude, why'd you remote yesterday? Funny story. I just needed to do something. This takes like 2 minutes, so I'm gonna let that run. And then it takes 2 minutes to build a session. Like, I don't freaking know, man. They went with Apple backend, or Amazon backend services. I was thinking Apple because I'm gonna be hungry. So let's go to slide 20. So this is what we're gonna work on this week, domain controllers. Well, what's domain controllers? What does that mean? What's a domain? You ever been to a nightclub and there's a bouncer? Either lets you in or won't let you in if you're a certain age or whatnot, or you didn't pay the cover fee. Think of that as what gatekeeps a domain, which is just a cluster of things that you join into on the server side. And you're part of that domain, so you can access specific resources, printers, files, data. A domain is just a self-contained kind of an ecosystem. Does that make sense? Not a food chain, okay? We're not eating other people or machines like Pac-Man, okay? We're not doing that. So domain controllers, when you install Windows Server on a new system, which we've done, you can configure the server to be a member server, which is what we're going to do in Unit 3, because it can get heavy, you can get dicey, because you got to do a bunch of different things. A domain controller or standalone server. Right now, it's a standalone server, right? It's just doing its own thing, just chilling on your network, or on your computer, rather, and just hanging out. The difference between these types of servers is extremely important. Member servers are part of a domain, but don't store directory information. So they're part of the domain to help the domain function. Domain controllers, which is what we're going to implement in Unit 3, are distinguished from member servers because they store directory information. What does that mean? They store logins. Have you guys ever heard of Active Directory? AD? Yes. Okay. 80's kind of technically going away. They're trying to move away to AD-less systems, but it's still going to be around. But it's not going to go away. Pardon me. It's not going to go away within the next like 20 years, I guarantee you. But a lot of people are trying to move to cloud-based AD, and I don't want to get into it. The AD I have at work is ancient. It's been around since probably year 2000. They have what are called trees that look like trees, where you got to kind of prune, right? You've seen gardeners prune a bush, right? So it grows stronger. Well, we need to do pruning to get rid of old systems that don't like even exist anymore. I think there's like a bunch of printer systems that don't make sense, but I won't get into it. But that's part of the domain thing. and that's what they're going to be working on. So, and it provides authentication and directory services for the domain. Well, directory services is just login credentials, access to certain locations, access to certain repositories. Repositories are like file repositories, for example. Like if you have this giant file cabinet, and this file cabinet is all the IT department's files, their software, their scripts, all their server settings. They're all stored with that specific file cabinet for IT. And if they're part of the IT, what's called a group, and they're part of it, they can access it. Does that make sense? So accounting wouldn't have access to that. HR wouldn't have access to that. You don't need it. So it's limited in that sense. So only IT could reach it. Sound good? Not good? Not making sense? You want another example? Anybody? Anything? Okay. I just want to make sure. Then standalone servers aren't part of a domain. They have their own user database. They're just chilling their own back. It's like a small business would have something like that. Because the standalone servers also authenticate login requests themselves. They kind of do it all, but they don't act like a domain. So guys, that is slide 20. Let's take, I don't know, 10-minute break sound good? Take a small break, drink some water, come back after you have a snack or two. And I will be back here by, what time is it? Let me check my phone. 13. Hell, let's come back at 7:25. I'll pause the share and pause the recording. Then 7:25, be back in the chair. All right? Stop recording. All right, guys, we're back. We're still on our bio break. Let me share my screen again. Share screen dose. Where's it paused? There you go. Everything when you're all back, and we'll get started. Just trying to get more comfortable in my chair. If y'all hear a beep sometime in the next, well, I don't know, 40 minutes, it's probably my 3D printer. Just staring at it. Well, let me know when you're back, and we'll keep going. Let's see here. I see you, Jonathan. Okie dokie. Already proceed on this wonderful school trip here that we're taking through the wilds of the internet. All right. As always, this will be up by Sunday with the labs. Just try everything together. So, you know, hopefully that gives you guys enough time to do it. I'm thinking might make the lab due dates, or rather change them. You know, we start them on Thursday, make them do the following Thursday. Does that work for you guys? Just trying to be fair and give you like a full week of time to do it. Or would that be too intrusive? Okay. Got one yep. Okay. What you missed, George? I'm just asking if I were to change lab due dates from well, they are now because it should be Sunday to Sunday, but we don't do labs till Thursdays, right? So if we go from, let's say, this Thursday to next Thursday for these labs with the recordings of Sundays, is that enough time for you guys to do them? That's what I'm asking. Okay, so we'll do that. I'll make that administrative change. Not the end of the world. Just keep in mind, for the last week of class, though, it will be a little dicey because you'll have a final, right? Which will be due at the end of the week. Then you'll have maybe some light labs, which will be also be due at the end of the week. So just gotta learn how to manage your time. I get it. We work, we're adults, but once it's the end of the semester, I can't really do much. So I'm just warning you guys. The end of the semester will be here before we know it. And I mean, what Thanksgiving is, quote, a month away, right? 5 weeks, I think. I don't feel confident in myself right now. Let me check. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 weeks away. So, oh, that reminds me. The 11th is Veterans Day. It's a Tuesday. We will not have class that night. So take the night off. Okay, relax. We'll have lecture on the 13th and we'll just spread labs out or whatever. And we'll go from there. Sound good? Then for the week of Thanksgiving, I say this first class, I'll say it again. I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to exist for that week. I'm out of town. You guys just have some readings of some questions to answer and a simple group discussion of what you're thankful for Thanksgiving. That sound cool? No labs, nothing to worry about. Then week 7 will be week. Yeah, well, what material? You gotta be a little more specific there. Because for week 7, it'll just be some readings from the book and some questions to answer. You can give me opinions. You're gonna have a class topic of just literally what you're thankful for Thanksgiving. Well, I'm thankful for having great food, friends, family, right? That's all gonna be in Oregon, so I'm not gonna be here, so I can't really host. You know what I mean? So that week will be asynchronous. Let me see. Let me check topics real quick because that's gonna be that week. So next week we do all the fun server stuff. Or get into the server stuff. Sorry, week 4 is Active Directory and oh god, is that what we do it? Somewhere along those lines. Week 5 is some paperwork stuff for you guys to do, like server hardware related to figure things out, setting it up. Week 6, let me see, week 6. Sorry, I'm just trying to get all the bookkeeping like set right. We're on week 2, right? So week 3 is next week. Week 4 is the 10th. So week 4 lecture won't be until the 13th. Labs I'll have to figure out. So I might have to redo that or push things around. Week 5. Oh, week 4 is the midterm, by the way, which I'm writing, but the midterm will probably where it go live. So I probably won't make the midterm live till the 14th. It'll cover units 1 through 4. Questions come from the slides. I'm not taking away the slides or the book. It's all there, and Google's there. Don't use AI. Answer it honestly. Just answer it the best you can. I'm not looking for like rocket science or brain surgery, okay? Then week 5 is that. And week 6, I am not here, which that'll be week 7. Then class ends the 8th. You get your final? I don't remember when the semester ends, to be quite frank with you guys right now. So I might just have to make one unit, is what I'm kind of getting at, which will be the reading unit, which is fine. I have to rework unit 4 because unit 4 is kind of wonky. So, anywho, sorry, just administration stuff I just got to think about a little bit ahead of time, which I don't have a lot of time to do things. That's called life. And life can be unforgiving. So let's talk about domains. Here's what it looks like. Diagrams from the world of tomorrow. If you've seen Futurama, that's where it's from. The world of tomorrow part. So this is what a domain typically looks like. So you have a primary domain controller. So that's your gatekeeper. Like when you try to leave a parking area with an arm, lets you in or out. That's what that's for. And there's 2 backup controllers in case the main one goes down so they can take over. That's how they work. And what's part of this domain is workstation A, B, and C. So let's say I want to implement workstation D. I want to add a workstation, right? I want to add it here. But it's going to be out here because whenever you usually set up machines, they're not normally part of a domain. They can be if you image them, which is how you set them up on a corporate environment, depending if you use Intune, Fog, which is free open source, Ghost, then Ghost, which is pretty ancient now. And then what do we do now? We don't even call it imaging anymore, guys. That term is ancient. Now it's essentially you're pushing everything onto the machine, kind of like a session, and it pulls everything, the version of Windows you need, what you need on it, the software you need on it. Oh, you know what? That reminds me. Let me make sure my system's up, that I can remote into work, and I can show you what I was talking about. Because they kicked me out because I took too bloody long. Actually, no, I goofed and entered the wrong password. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know, a million passwords. Life of me. Unknown error. That's not right. Why is it auto-filling? Hold on, guys. Maybe I'll just make it in a private window. It's not that big of a deal. Should be spinning up. Come on. Well, it says it's spinning up. Well, it's doing that in the background. I'll double check in a minute. If not, I'll just demo it next time during lab. So same deal. Anywho, if we add in the machine we want to add in, when you go to add it to a domain, you get this prompt. Let me see if I can pull up what the prompt looks like. Oh, well, it worked at work. Go figure. Sorry, I know I'm all over the place. It's just I want to show you what it's like to do a remote session with the machine. Okay, clear, but when you're doing a domain, you want to add a domain. It prompts for this. Now it's network credentials, but it looks like this. Right now it looks like this. It used to look like this. So this is the name of that domain. And they backslash, that's the user login, and then they have the password. I mean, normally I log into a machine. Oh, come on, man. Why is this? I went through my credentials like 3 times. Sorry, my work machine isn't work machining. So yeah, this is what it looks like. We're gonna make a domain like this. Don't worry, we're gonna be adding a machine to it, which is what it's for. So let me pull up my work machine. So let me show you. We have a tool. It's called SSCM. It's pretty old school-ish now. So it was before Intune. We mastered it. That's what we use. So let me demo that for you real quick. Let me think of a machine that's free right now. I'll update my console. Sorry, it's running 3 instances. I'll pull it over right now. Give me a second. I just need to think of a machine I could get to. So it's resizing. Don't worry. So this is my console. Someone messaged me on Teams. I'm not available anyway because I'm not there. So think of a room. Think of a room. Let me think. Oh, this is Active Directory. That's what it looks like too. See, this is my entire organization. This is my directory. So if I were to look for somebody, I'll look for myself. Right? Let's type in my work credentials. Don't worry, you can't do anything with them. And there I am. So that's that. You can use to look up people. That's why I use it for mostly. Or machines. I can't find a machine. I can go that way. But look, everything in here. Look, domain controllers. What do we have in here? These are all our domain controllers. You're not going to break anything by me showing to it. But some of these are offsites. That's my main one. That's continuing education. That's our other sister college. That's our district office. This one is the one that's a remote site. I don't know what these are Amazon ones. I don't know what those do. I don't know what these top ones do, to be fair. But that's what they look like. Let me show you what a preview looks like. Let me pull this over. Sorry, can't show you everything in that regard. So let me go over here. Oh, not that guy. Back. So this is what our print server looks like at work. Ah, on screen, no. It's resizing, no worry. So see, so our letter kind of starts off where it's at. So this is at Centennial, which is our offsite, C, right? Education Center is EC. So it's Centennial, A with a building, then the room number 100, then the designation 00008. That's just how we have the print server set up. So after a while, you kind of get used to know how to read these. Don't worry, don't freak out. That's room 101. Don't drop that and just look at that. But for like this, it says A101, right? The room A101. 01 means it's the subroom. So it's A101-1. So it's things like that. That's how they have it set up. But let me take this back. So I'll just show you how remoting works, right? On administrator side of things, include my console. Oh, let me think of a machine I can remote into. Try and think what Dean isn't there right now. I can just kind of show you if that'd be kind of dangerous. Let me think. Let me think. Let me think. Let me think. I'll remote into one of my coworkers' machines and I'll explain tomorrow morning why I did it. So this is our office. I could pull this bar down. There you go. So these are all the machines there, right? Let me go to this one. I know that one's up front. So let's start remote control. We're going to remote into a machine for lab. We're going to remote from your virtual machine to your server. Oh, come on. Don't tell me you stay logged in. This usually happens when they stay logged in. So it kind of doesn't let me in until they approve it. So I'm sure he'll ask me tomorrow, like, dude, why were you trying to sign in? Funny story. Who's this? I find out. Check this out. AC, whoops, 7, what was it? I can look it up by number. Just, it kind of sucks. AC 7418. Oh, that's nice. No match. That's weird. Anyways, I was looking in the wrong spot. I was looking at domain controllers. Duh. Let me switch this. Into the entire. 671. Yeah, I gotta be specific. AC 7428. Oh, my other coworker told me. Why it starts with A? I don't know. He can ask me tomorrow why I remoted into machine, and if I tell him it's for you guys, it's not going to be mad. So let's go to Tony's machine. Oh, he turned it off. Dang it. That X means it's off. I'm just trying to show you how to remote. Remote got it with us. He probably isn't remoted. Remotes. Huh. I stand corrected. People stay logged in their machines. They are making me look bad. Let me think. Let me think. Chris Lopez, probably not logged in. Yeah, there we go. Jesus. Remind me to buy Chris a soda. So yeah, this is where I could remote in if they're logged in. I could see what they're doing and help them. So 99% of my job, I don't really have to leave my office for, but I'd rather go talk to the people so you can build rapport and build all that stuff. But this is how administration actually works. It's, you're going to be remoting into machines and checking them out and figuring out why they're not working, why they're not doing what you need to do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we're all part of one domain here. So that's what the domain controllers were there for. That's what this Active Directory is. See, that's our domain. I have the keys to the kingdom, that kind of deal. I can remove and add machines. No, I will not take a machine off right now to show you or re-add it because it's kind of messy, especially when you're remote. You kind of need to be in front of the machine to do it. 99.9% of the time, I need to do it in front of the machine. Like the 1% I don't have to. But that is me remoting into work, remoting into another machine. Does anybody have any questions about it? Does it make sense? Does it look confusing? Is it boring? Anything, guys? Comments, concerns? SSCM, which we should have replaced with Intune ages ago. Yeah, I know, George, it can be kind of dry. Simple but tedious. Yes, that is a very good way of putting it. So that's just the day in the day out kind of stuff I deal with. So that's what I kind of try to bring into here. So you guys can see what's like out in the real world, right? I mean, what's the point of trying to learn something and do something if it's not relatable to what you're going to hopefully do in the future? The more you learn, the more you do. No, to remote from home, I have to, but we used to VPN in, which I will mention about virtual private networks. We used to VPN in from our home machines to our main machines, so the screen was a hell of a lot bigger and worked a lot better. But because that software was considered ancient, because our entire district kind of shifted to that during COVID, and it kind of saturated the network in that regard. So the pipeline wasn't that big for everyone remoting, so they had to upgrade it and just do a bunch of stuff to get it to work. And then they decided to move away from it because there's this big security concern with it. So they moved to what we have now. What I do use the web browser for at work though is for researching things. Because like I said, I don't know everything, guys. No one's gonna ever know everything, and I have to look things up sometimes. Sometimes you get these really weird, funky errors, and you got to see if anybody else has dealt with it, or you're, contacting Microsoft to open a case, and you guys work on it together. So it's kind of like that as well. Anybody have any questions before I move on back into domain controllers? Anything? Anybody? Waiting for the typing to happen. No one's gonna type. No. Okay. Okay. So another kind of domain controller. Switching the way. Okay. Domain to domain. Domain's on a switch. It controls everything that connects to the switch, which would be domain clients, right? They're routed to the switch, the domain controller. Then you have a separate domain for computer 4 with two printers and the network printer. So that network printer is on a domain. You would connect to it the same way you would add a printer from the server I showed you. Double click on the icon because it's hosted on the domain controller. Remember, servers can do more than one thing at a time. They can do multiple things and wear multiple hats. Keep that in mind. This is just a different example. Does it make sense? Is it not clear? Is it weird? Is it confusing? Are we good? Unclear. Okay. What aspect is unclear, Steve?
So I see the domain controller at the top. Is that other domain controller looking box on the bottom right? Is that also all four of those are clients? Or
So this domain controller is for this separate domain now that where computer 4 is routed through the switch will access the printers. So that's its own domain for the printers, essentially, if that makes sense. So it's this whole area here is just controlled by that controller. That
okay,
makes sense?
and
Good.
kind of so
So this is the main domain for everything in this area. That's the biggest domain, right? Because it's got to switch. It would technically it'd be both domains, but no, it's only this domain here and this one. It's just outside of that bubble because it's on its own. It's part of the switch area over here. It's separated. Over here, they just have this domain for the specific domain for printing. Two separate areas.
that domain comes after the switch.
Correct.
Got it.
Got it.
Okay.
I mean, yeah,
Thank
Jonathan,
you.
but it just you're welcome. It just depends on what you're using it for, if that makes sense. Because there's web domains, and I'm telling you right now, this is going to be on the midterm. When I ask you what a domain is, do not tell me it's a web controller. I get that every semester. Think about what we're talking about in class. Yes, there are domains for web controllers. That's different. We're not talking about that. We're talking about server domains and area domains. Okay, completely different animals in that regard. But yes, there are lots of types. Even though web domain is technically correct, it really isn't. That clear? That's a hint, by the way. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, hubba, hubba. So we good? Can I move on to the next slide?
Al, I did have one question.
Yeah, go
So
for it.
the domain controller, so and then the subdomains, were these all like so the domain controller, is it all separated by like subnets? So like the domain clients on each side would have like different subnets of the switch, or is that like how it's like how they're able to communicate with each other? Do you see what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yes, that is correct. They'd be separated by subnets and technically VLANs. Hold on, let me reply.
Okay. Okay. Everything's coming like full circle with all the networking stuff. So
Correct. Yeah, see,
cool.
that's why networking is your backbone, guys, for everything when it comes to technology, be it whatever role you're kind of in. Even programming, you have to worry about networking because you have to point to the right container, the right repository, to the right area. So if you don't know how to path, you don't know how to ping, you don't know how to figure these things out, is why I want you guys to do it first. Because you're going to wind up pinging like, oh, why isn't this working? Why can't I get from point A to point B? Why can't I access these files, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's why networking is very, very important. Yeah, networking can be a headache though. I mean, don't get me wrong, even though I get so confused, I'm human, unfortunately, right? I'm not a robot. Networking can be kind of dicey, but if you get really good at networking, if you get your network plus, you're golden, get it once. You're good. If you want to renew it, be my guest. If not, as long as you've had it, you're fine. So here are the pros of networking, okay? Or networking. I'm rambling. Domain controllers. So it centralizes user data management for efficient organization and data storage. So it's all in one spot, which is great. Makes resource sharing for files and printers a breeze. This is booze. I don't know why I'm reading it wrong. I'm probably hungry, but it makes everything all in one spot, such as what I'm trying to get you. It simplifies network administrative workload. So if you had your domain spread out hypothetically across 3 different servers in 3 different areas, it'd be a pain in the butt to administer everything, right? If like you're opening different drawers to find a dish, for example, in the kitchen, and you know it should be in the upper right hand corner and they're not, like, are you tearing your hair out trying to find something? Yeah, I'd argue that. Same application when it comes to this. If your domain's spread out, a bunch of different machines for different domains, it can be a headache. But if it's all centralized, which it should be, under an 80 or under pardon me, under a domain, you're fine. So facilities that provides more control over user settings and entitlements. So yes, you can separate people into guests. You can separate people who are called power users. You guys know what a power user is? No, it's not a Power Ranger. I'm sorry. I just burst your bubble. Can't be part of the Super Sentai Club, okay? That's what they were called originally in Japan. Pseudo. No, 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 no. You have regular user, you have guests, which just have very small bits of access. Regular users have a good shape form of access, and power users can have something that's called elevator rights, where they can have certain rights to install certain things, like they can install Adobe, they can install anything in Adobe. No, no, no. Administrators above that. Power users are the middleman in between everything. They have very limited rights to install items. Like you can give them the right to add a network printer. You can give them the right to access certain repositories. You can give them rights to install certain kinds of software in the list. That kind of deal. Well, the administrator gets full reign. You can do whatever you want. Just don't break it. So there's a big difference in discrepancy in those. Does that make sense? Access control, correct. Yes, it is access control to an extent, but with different privileges and rights. God, it sounds like I'm writing a bill of digital rights here. So maximizes and ensures high network and data security. Yeah, but it's all in one place. That's kind of the con, to be frank. Enables user data encryption. Yeah, things should be encrypted end to end in your domain, but that's you set that up by default. Enables federation configuration for redundancy, FSMO. So essentially, it's just redundant. There's usually fallbacks built in. That's all that means. Increases collaborative possibilities within domains. So yeah, you can share resources more efficiently. You can have like a master repository for HR for example, HR needs access to personal information, right? Yes or no? Where are they going to mail your check? Who are they going to contact if you get injured? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, accounting will kind of need that information too. Where are they sending your tax documents to? Who are they taking the checks out to? Blah, 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 blah. Has there been a change in your healthcare? Did they update, their billing? So yeah, that kind of goes hand in hand. So you can set up who gets access to what. Hopefully that's making sense. But that is part of collaboration. Some groups have access to the same amount of things, some don't. Some have, some can be up here in terms of access, some can be right under them. It just depends. So easier to distribute and replicate across large networks. Yeah, you can clone them. It's not that hard. We won't clone one because it'll be too hard on our end, unfortunately. Easier to harden. Well, hardening means limiting access to things, shutting down certain ports, configuring a word called group policies, which I get into later. Only this group access to add printers, this group doesn't, this group can access this folder, this group can access this folder from this time to this time, this group can log in from this time to that time, that kind of deal. That's called hardening. And locking down for security. So yeah, you would lock things out like, oh, if I try to path on my work machine, if I try to path to a repository, I'm not supposed to, like, I'm trying to think of like a student database repository. I probably won't have access because I'm not on the applications team, but they would. Things like that. So cons. Cons the potential to be hacked to become an easy target for cyber attacks. That's true because it's in one place, right? It's all centralized. That's kind of the problem. And while decentralization is starting to become more popular, domains can't really be decentralized that easily because they all have to operate within one area, one umbrella. We must ensure the operating system stability and security. That's where patching comes into play. That's where zero-day vulnerabilities get exploited, or you patch them out. That's why patches happen every Tuesday. It's just how it goes. And there's patches almost weekly, right? Like, when was the last time we didn't get a Windows update? Let's put it that way. I think I have one pending right now. Let me check. Yeah, I'm staring at the update circle. Get latest features and security. I don't want that right now. I will do that later. It doesn't matter. Do it tomorrow. Not that big of a deal. So it's important to check for hardware and software requirements to keep them up to date. So yeah, the hardware cycle for servers, I would argue, isn't as vicious as it is for personal machines. Sorry, my shoulders just hurt. Because, I mean, if you build a new computer, guys, if you built actually Generation 14 of Intel is as bad as people make it out to be, to each their own. If you prefer Ryzen, that's fine. To each their own again. How long do you expect the computer to last you? Let's be really honest here, guys. Don't give me a number. Months, years, doesn't matter. 3, 4, 5. Okay. Yeah, 3 to 4 or 5, I'd argue, is now the average for machines. A server can last 10 plus years with the hardware. Unless they really change the operating system requirements, they last about usually double-ish, even 15. Hell, there's even some servers I think that are still on 32,000 somewhere in the background. Wouldn't surprise me. But they're disconnected. But they kind of become legacy because things get phased out, right? Neither here nor there. But back in the day, like back in the days of DDR2, okay? This is back when you guys, some of you were in diapers, some of you weren't, some of you know what I'm talking about. There's different kinds of RAM, right? DDR1, DDR2, DDR3, which is phased out now. 4 is starting to get phased out, and 5 is the most common thing for DDR RAM now, right? Well, back in the day of DDR2 into 3, machines were built to last. Like if you built a custom machine, it could last about 10 years. Rough. It can go from like Windows XP to Vista to Windows 7 at the time. Then probably about the midway point of Windows 7's life cycle is when it died. Your machine would just, the hardware couldn't be maintained. It would just get out of date. So that cycle's changed in recent years. Now it's every about 3 to 4, and I argue 5, 6 if you can never future-proof anything. Have you guys ever heard of that? You can future-proof your machine for X, Y amount of years. You use the highest, latest and greatest. Give you an example. Remember NVIDIA graphic cards, right? NVIDIA this, NVIDIA that, whatever. We're up to the 5 series, just came out a year ago, but back in the day, I'm just rolling back a little. Okay, just stick with me. The NVIDIA Titan came out. Do you remember hearing about it? Or even know about it? Right. Well, the Titan is now considered obsolete. That's like what, almost a 10-year-old card now? And that card, I think, still held its weight up until the Crisis remaster. When was that? Let me find out. I'm using Crisis as a benchmark, okay? But don't judge me. But it's kind of real world. So yeah, up until about 5 years ago, the Titan was still able to push that game as a single card, I think, on high. So, you can future-proof, but you can't future-proof that much. I mean, I guarantee you the 4080 Super I have isn't going to last another 3 years. It's just, it is what it is. The way I looked at it is just from building machines. If you want to build a budget machine and just keep upgrading it, you're going to spend about the same as you would off the bat if you built like this high-end machine. So it's kind of the same at the end of the day, but it's just swapping out parts every like 6 to 8 months. So just keep that in mind. I know it's neither here nor there, but that can kind of apply to everything else. So back into this, and I'm talking about the last point. Your network depends on the main controller's uptime. What does that mean? Your stuff should restart like once a week at minimum. Georgia, depends what you want to do and what you're using it for. My machine's also my multimedia machine. It holds my movie server for the house. It holds my all my music. So again, it just depends what you use it for. If you want to game and be like the creme de la creme for a while, yeah, go nuts. Spend $1,000 or more. I'm not stopping you. But you remember, your machine can do more than one thing at a time, right? The RAM is not just for gaming, guys. It's so I can make virtual machines. That's the whole point. I used to teach on an i9 9900K with 16 gigs of RAM. It did its job fine, but then it's just like as I'm creating 4 machines, it would just cry, even though it was an 8 core. So now I have a 20 core, and it's like, here's 5 machines. I don't care, that kind of deal. Space becomes a limiting factor. Plus, all my 3D prints take up a lot of hardware space or hard drive space. Like all my scans, all my rendering. Again, the machine can do it, but it just how much hard drive space do I have? I have 8 TB. Okay, 4 of those TB is practically digital files for printing, which I'm printing at the moment for myself. But not trying to gloat, just saying more multi-purpose. Okay, so Active Directory, which I kind of showed you a little bit of, but Active Directory is a database. Okay, AD's been around for years. Here, I'll make a very quick extra credit assignment. When it just literally find out when did Active Directory release and just send it to me. Give me the date. That's all I want. 5 points. Easy peasy. Send it to me in inbox on Canvas. I don't want an explanation. I don't need an article. Just don't chat GPT. Just find out from Microsoft if you can. When was AD released originally? Anyways, the logic structure of Active Directory is a hierarchical organization of all users, computers, and other physical resources. The structure includes 3 tiers: domains, which I showed you, trees, and forests. So trees, I argue, are the groups. The forests are the folders, if that makes any sense. Does that add up? Does that not add up? Is it not making sense? Is it kind of just all combobulating? Anybody? Also, what time is it? Let me check the time. Oh, it's almost 8 p.m. Cool. I don't plan to keep you guys till 9. Okay. So I'm not that evil, even though we have like 40 some odd slides ago. So any server can support one or more of the following roles: application services, XML web services, web applications, distributed applications. So you can host applications on a server and just point the executable of the file itself, like you're going to run. Oh, I don't know. If you want to run a Minecraft server at home, you can share with all your cousins or whom not by giving the executable on the IP, and they can connect. Right? I mean, you've all heard of Minecraft, right? It became Lego should have made ages ago. Just an example. So when you configure a server with this role, IIS, ComPlus, and the Microsoft Net Framework, which has been around forever now, it feels like, are automatically installed. ComPlus is a different kind of com relay. Don't worry about it. It just gets automatically put in. So DHCP server, you heard me mention DHCP, so it stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. You can automatically assign Internet Protocol IP addresses to clients on the network. So when we make our domain, our server gets elevated to also a DHCP host, which means we'll have to change the domain. We'll have to change the DNS. Sure. We email came in. We changed the DNS of our virtual machine, or Windows virtual machine, to match the IP of the server, and then it's how it works. But that's what took me a long time to figure out when I made a domain a long time ago. But anyway, here's what this looks like with application hosting. Ta-da! Pretty fun, isn't it? So you have a client, it says the HTTP request, the application server reveals the request, servlet responds with it, and HTTP sends back. It's all right here. So the HPC server listens for the request and issues the IP address to the machine, reacts to the server's request, sends the data. There's that beeping. Don't worry about it. It's just my printer telling me it's done. Let me check it super quick while I take the lid off. Awesome. I will take care of this tomorrow. It took 2 hours. Anywho, does this make sense for an application example? No, maybe so. We lost in the sauce. We good? Anybody? Am I going too fast? Not making sense? Okay. Okay. Stop me if I'm going too fast, guys. We're almost to slide 30. Okay. We're getting there. We're making progress. I know you guys have a life. You want to enjoy your evening, but let's talk about a DNS server. A server that runs DNS resolves computer names to IP, right? I mentioned that's what it does. DNS translates from www.google.com to IP address to send it to your computer, and then the computer translates it via DNS, and the IP address to the website that shows up right in front of your face in the browser. I certainly hope so. Same thing with your phone. It works off DNS. Domain controller, a service that provides directory service for the domain and has a directory stored, which I talked about AD. Domain controllers also manage the login process and directory searches. So yeah, it's what let me log into work because I logged into my domain. Then I logged into my virtual machine, logged in from my virtual machine to my main machine via authentication through the domain. It's a roundabout process. It's a headache and a half. And here's an example of DNS. Remember? So, hey, step one, IP address 36 dot whatever is requesting mysite.com from DNS. Okay. DNS says, hey, IP address blah 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 blah. Here's the site you want. It sends it back. Hold on, guys. Let me close my email. Didn't mean to leave that open. It's just you guys tell me what Microsoft AD is. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'll log those points. Don't worry. Later. I don't forget. What was it? My controller. DNS is pretty straightforward. This is what it does. It doesn't do anything else. So I showed you a brief glimpse of a print server. Print server that provides and manages access to network printers. Print queues, for what they're called, is what the little printer icons were. And it also hosts the print driver. So how many of you had ever struggled trying to find a driver for a printer? I sure have. You had HP, you had Epson, Beam Brother, anybody else struggle? They're just like flailing against the wall for a while. A lot. Back in the day, like 20 plus years ago, pulling up something you guys have probably seen. Old. This is a CD. It's not that, but it's not sure. There you go. The printers used to come with CDs with the drivers and the software you needed. Hell, they even came with the printer cable at one point. They took the printer cable out and started charging you 15, 20 bucks for it. And they got rid of this. This is audio CD. They got rid of that and started hosting it on the net on their website. But now that a lot of these printers have aged, you remember printers, like laser printers would be beige colored or home printers would be like this grayish plastic. That's now like from the year 2000 plus to 2010-ish when they started adding splashes of blue or black. Those printers are obsolete. Let's face it, they're ancient, right? But a lot of people keep their printer, if they have one at all in this day and age. And those drivers are getting harder to find. They'll host it up until like a Windows 7 or 8 version, if I remember correctly. But after that, you're on your own, man. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And a lot of people refuse to replace them and get rid of them. Why? I don't know. Maybe some people just keep making remanufactured cartridges. I've seen it, but it's neither here nor there. But just life is weird, right? But talking about printers, print drivers can be a headache. Even on the server, they can go bad, and you have to re-upload to the server, repoint to the right repository to pull it. It can be a pain in the butt. Role access, which I just did via a VPN server that routes network traffic and manages networking VPN. Do you guys know how VPN even works? I'm not trying to be insulting, but I'm just asking. Virtual private network. You know what it is? Okay. I will touch on the next slide and just kind of glaze over it, okay? Sound good? It's like you're taking the 5 and then you want to go on the 99, right? Essentially. Less traffic or what have you. Tunnel, yeah, tunnel. Best way to describe it is a tunnel. It's like taking the tunnel on the Brooklyn Bridge or whatever. Anywho, server cluster node, a server that operates as part of a group, which is what's part of domain 1, where we have those backup ones, of a group of servers working together called a cluster. Yeah, we have more than one server, it's called a cluster. That is correct. So here are those that I was talking about. Not the best pictures, I do apologize. But here is the print server, right? Print server is here, laser printer 1, goes to the network hub, and then that printer is connected and shared between all these machines. They can all print to it. Pretty straightforward. It's administered by the print server. Pretty straightforward, right? Does make sense. And the VPN. Ta-da! So this is your VPN client here. You have a secure tunnel that runs here. This is your virtual private network. That's what VPN stands for. To the VPN server, which lets you access everything else so you can bypass the firewall through the internet. But it's a secure tunnel. You have to get in with specific credentials and tokens. You have that backward, Jonathan. Other way around. Are safe, not unsafe. They are safe. Public networks are what are unsafe because on public networks, everything is just exposed. How many of you used Wireshark before? Okay, I'm not trying to condone this, okay? But if you were to hypothetically sit, it was fun. Hypothetically sit in a Starbucks and just run. Oh God, I can't think of it. I just brain farted. Great, gummy. Wireshark on there and capture packets. That's essentially the problem with public. Everything's out there in the open. That network isn't secure. Don't do it. They'll flag you. I don't want to get into it. So then we have cluster nodes. So all these 4 servers in the middle all help manage and run those virtual machines. And then the shared storage outside of that, they just act as middlemen. So if something in the node goes down, let's say the second one here, which I'm going to circle my mouse. Hopefully it shows up. This guy goes down. These 3 can compensate. That's the beauty of a cluster. They kind of pick up the slack for each other. So let's move on. 13 more slides, guys, and you're free to go. Okay. Well, streaming media server. Remember I showed you the Netflix server? The beginning, unit 1? That's what it is. The server that provides streaming media content to other systems on the network or on the internet. How many of you use Spotify, Pandora? Oh, I don't know. What's another music app? YouTube Music, YouTube itself? Yeah, it's a streaming media server. Apple Music. Thank you. I forgot that one. That's the streaming media server. You're just streaming from the cloud, which is just offsite. And then there's a terminal server, a server that processes tasks for multiple client computers running in the terminal service mode. Think of a database more along the lines, or like a warehouse system. That's a terminal server. So I'll just show you those examples next. Diagrams are helpful, right? Ta-da! Here's how Pandora streaming works. You have the streamer. Hell, Twitch, right? Twitch is still popular. You guys watch. I'm trying to think of someone I can't think of. Ninja? Didn't he leave? I don't watch Twitch streamers. I just hear the names of people. But they stream, right? It goes to a streaming server, then it's just published via Twitch. It's just on that channel. It's like a custom TV, right? Then you have over here a terminal server. These are all the things that are being hosted on the terminal server: file server, domain controller, web interface server, optional, listening server, and then a session directory server, and all one client just accesses files and resources. That's what it's for. Or multiple clients, first come, first serve basis. So let's talk about the control panel. I know it's redundant. We've all seen the control panel on a computer, right? It's similar. It's similar in server. I'll even show you the picture of it. Control panel. It's a collection of tools for managing system configuration. With classic start menu, you can access these tools by selecting start, choosing settings, and then selecting control panel. Or you type in control panel, right? You type in control panel, it pops up in the start or in the search bar. So, side note, the Windows search bar wasn't really implemented until Windows Vista, and it was terrible. If you type the control panel, it will bring up like something else that wasn't even related. It's gotten better. Obviously, Windows 10 it was pretty much improved. Now Windows 11 it works pretty flawlessly, but you can't bring up this PC through it for some weird reason. I don't know why. I think it's a security issue or security reasoning. So graphic administrator tools, the key tools for managing network computers and the resources. You can access these tools by selecting them individually on the administrative tool submenu. Don't worry, we'll explore all that in lab. So here's what control panel looks like on server. Sorry, my ear's a little itchy. Looks pretty similar to Windows 10, right? Or 11. They're kind of the same beast under the hood a little bit, but again, Windows Server has a little more bells and whistles. Remember the splash screen when you log in on your virtual machine? It has like what role do you want to give it? What do you want to implement? That's one of the main differences. You can't do that with Windows 11 Pro, Home, or Enterprise. That's server specific kind of thing. Cool. We're good so far. I can move on. We've got about 9 slides to go through, then you guys are free to go. Sound good? Okay. Chase told me he's good, so I assume you all are good. I'm hoping, I'm praying, and wishing. So let's party. All right. So administrative wizard tools. It's admin tools. I mean, they're there. Designed to automate key administrative tasks. Command line utilities, which is when you use command prompt. You can launch most administrative utilities from the command line. That's true. But PowerShell, which is the newer one, is a cross-platform task automation solution made up of command line shell, the scripting language, and configuration management framework. It's just fancy. Okay, it's fancier command line is the best I can put it. PowerShell runs on Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. That is true. You can run it on all 3. Here's what those all look like. So when we add features to the server, it's not the best picture. I apologize, but this is where we do it from. That's when we get to the splash screen in the beginning. That's where you select. It goes through all this process. This is command line. This is from my old machine. And this is PowerShell. See, told you it was blue. This is from my old machine before dark mode was a thing. So that's what those look like. We will get more familiar with them. We're going to use them more. I'm not speeding through this, but this is just, it is what it is kind of deal, okay? It's pretty straightforward. It's not too crazy or intimidating, I hope. So, adding hardware. Believe it or not, this doesn't really I'm gonna explain this. I mean, I'll pull it up on my end, and I'm gonna talk about. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Making me look like a doof. Control panel. Let me go to hardware. This is on mine. It's fine. Where the hell is it? Doesn't have it the way I want it. Device manager. That's lovely. Okay. This one. So it used to be different. So I'm not going to add anything, but you wouldn't even use it back in the day. Honestly, you would just plug in your damn controller card, audio card. Yes, audio cards were a thing. Okay, Sound Blaster was awesome. Don't tell me otherwise. You plug in your new video card and you just run your drivers. How many of you still do that when you install something? Be it a video card, be it RAM, you don't have to. A hard drive, even though now it's M.2. Any kind of peripheral. Like you don't even need to do it for mouse and keyboard anymore, right? It just Windows will pick it up. We pull it from the website, you install it. Add-in hardware isn't how it used to be anymore, or was. Back in the day, it would a whole animal and you would plug and pray, and it would pick it up. Plug and pray, not plug and play. That's what we call it. That plug and pray works. So add and remove programs is pretty common. You've all seen it, right? You've all installed a push, no, Pashudo. You've all installed a program from a machine, right? I've installed countless games. You've uninstalled software. You've uninstalled items. You've uninstalled, I don't know, web browser bars. You install back. Same thing. Date and time. So, little factoid: if your computer's date and time does not match the network's date and time by, oh, I don't know, under 30 seconds to a minute, it won't let you log into the network. If your, say, your computer set it says it's 3 a.m. I'm looking at my phone right now. It says it's 8:10. My network would not allow it to connect because the time is not correct. You would have to change it to match or be as nearly matching as you can. Sometimes you have to set it to what's called a world clock, which you would do in command. Not going to have you do that for extra credit. It's just something for you to know. Here we'll run into that issue. Display. That's pretty straightforward, right? Used to configure background screensavers, which you guys even know why screensavers existed or even exist still? Not just for privacy. Anybody know? I'm sure Winter probably knows. Save power, kind of right. Chase, you're on the right path. Just save life on the screen. Yeah. Back in the day, we had what was called CRT monitor. You guys know what that even is? Cathode ray tube monitor. Big honking square glass monitor with a round fishbowl face, practically. I'll show you. It's okay. That's what screensavers are for. Hey, it's screensaver related. Okay, I'm not going into this. Oh, vintage. Neat. These guys. It's to prevent burn-in. Is that guy playing Counter-Strike 1.6? Sorry. Nostalgia kicked in for a second. Heavy. Yeah, they were hard to steal. People stole them at all. This is what that's Age of Empires 1. Don't ask me why I know that. This is what monitors were back in the before LCDs took over around early 2000. But it's to prevent the burn-in here. When plasma TVs were a thing, they had the same issue for burn-in, but screensavers are now pretty common. Every machine still has them. Hell, my TV has them, right? TVs are now smart. They're computers, right? How many of you know you can plug into an Android-based TV with the flash drive of movies and just play it off that? I mean, if you wanted to, or you host a Plex server, which I won't get into, but you can do that for a project. Look into it. Raspberry Pis are a ton of fun. So I'm just going over what every item does. So almost done. Folder options, used to set a wide variety of folder file options, including type of desktop used. You can customize it. Licensing is usually a little metric when it comes to servers from big organizations, or standalone if it's a single license for a small enterprise. Small companies use like standalone servers a lot more, so it's one license or one multi-user license of 3 or 5, depending on how much they paid. Network connections, that will be your friend in this class. You're going to use it a lot. I hate to say that, because you're going to be doing a lot of configuration for DNS, IPs, and reserving IPs. Pardon me. Printers and faxes, you can check what you have connected printer-wise. We don't do much with printers in here because this isn't a printer class. Schedule tasks. You can schedule tasks. It's pretty self-explanatory, right? We know what a system page looks like, right? We've all seen what system means. It shows all the information, how much RAM, the name, the version. I'm guessing myself. There you go. Yep, this guy that we saw last time, right? Has all the information on it. So, just running off the top of my head. And then these are all the commands you can run. You can mess around with these commands if you like. I think ARP you can even still do in Windows Home. So if you have Windows Home Edition, guys, part of the lab isn't going to work this week because you can't remote from home. for some weird reason won't work into Pro, but the Pro virtual machine you're gonna set up will use the remote into the server and back and forth. That's about it. Don't worry, we're fine. I know you can do host name on command, but I'm on. Let's see. I'm just gonna run it right now for no reason. Yep, it gives up your computer name. Check it out. You can run certain things. Try it on your computer if you want. Go to command, just type in host name. That's just the name of my account. Don't worry about it. What else can we do? We've done IP config, right? That's like our best friend for networking, figuring things out. You will run IP commands. Don't worry. FTP, we can't really FTP much because we're not in a server mode. MPT stat displays current connections. That one's always fun. I wonder if I can run it. We're almost done, guys. Almost done. I promise. I know you want to go eat because I do. I haven't had lunch. Stat. Yeah, NPC stat doesn't run on my machine. Doesn't that run? I'm just checking what runs. Don't worry about it. You can run some of these commands if you want. Be my guest. Just mess with it. That didn't work. And that wants a specific. You know, net sh. Oh yeah, you can do net sh. That's cool. We can control C. We do NS lookup. Yeah, see, you can do NS lookup. That one works. That's cool. See, I'm part of charting communications. Go me. That's my outward facing IP, I guess. Good to know. Ping we've done. I used to do ping. Route, you can actually do. That one's kind of cool. Break this. Hold on, let me break the command window. If you ever need to cancel a command, it's Control C, by the way. You do route. That's the routing table. Don't mess with your route. Don't even touch it. Because you can break your network and then it's hard to recover. TraceNet doesn't really work the way I want it because I'm not on the server. Then there's NetTool, but I will probably call it here because the rest are just net commands, which we're not going to really work on. It's just for you to have so you can reference them for your use if you like. But NetTool is a special NuGet package that contains a console application. So it opens a separate kind of console. You can install a tool on your machine the following ways. It's a global tool, which means it's available for everybody. Tool binary is installed on default directory that adds to path environment variable. So you can just path through and run it. So these are the commands that I have for net. I wonder if any net tools work. I think net use works. Let me see. Net use. Yeah, net doesn't work. I haven't installed. So but that's it, guys. That's all I had for this unit tonight. There's only this set of slides. I'll upload the new slides by tomorrow. Does anybody have any questions for me? Does anybody need any help with the virtual machine still? I can still stay for a little while and help you out. If you need any help? That's what I'm here for. If you have nothing, you're good. You feel like you're on top of the world and on top of it, you are free to go. So let me stop my share. At night, I want to end my share. Okay, that's done. Let me stop my recording here. Where the heck's my recording?